Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce, Michael, and Ivan. I know a story of high strangeness or two. Let's do this.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Bigfoot Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness. I'm your host, Michael McMillan. With me tonight, and only with me tonight, is your other host,
Bryce Johnson.
Super producer Riley Bray is off in the rock and roll cosmos right now. He's on tour with Tommy. I think they might be done by the time you guys hear this, but if you live on the West Coast, go to at the name Tommy on Instagram and just make sure that they aren't playing somewhere near you right now, because you do not want to miss that show. It's fantastic. Pam from Tommy's rad, Riley's rad, band's rad. You gotta go.
Agreed.
He's just nodding and saying, okay, great. I'm glad we agree on that.
Oh my God.
Hi, Bryce. How are you?
I'm great, man. I can't say enough cool things about that Tommy, man. Going with you guys down there the time at the was it Whiskey a Go-Go on Sunset? Did I?
No, we were down.
Well,
we were down at the Troubadour.
The Troubadour. Okay, great. I hadn't been out like that in a long time. They were so fantastic. I'm gonna try and describe their sound. It was like this sort of. I described it like a Sheryl Crow, but with a punkier vibe, and like everything was so like catchy and such a rad sound coming out of those three. I loved it.
Great.
Great.
All right. Well, I want to get to our guest because we have such an amazing guest. Our Club Scouts are going to be so excited. If they don't know this guy already, they're going to be very, very excited to know him now. But real quick, why don't we check in with the Club Scouts who've been following the show on their favorite podcast app and dropping us 5-star reviews on Amazon this month. Remember, Riley asked us to get some Amazon reviews. Bryce, who is our 5-star Club Scout of the week?
Yeah, well, this comes from Amy L., who gives it 5 out of 5 stars. Cracks me up. This podcast is fantastic. I look forward to it each week, and I'm a Patreon supporter, doing my part to help keep these 3 hilarious guys on the air. The episodes are engaging, the guests are interesting, and often super funny. I love Riley's music too. It's perfect for when I'm working in my studio and need to focus. I recommend the BCC highly. Thanks, Amy. Appreciate the heck out of that.
Thank you, Amy. We love you.
Yeah.
And hey, you're our only 5-star Amazon review, so the rest of you Club Scouts, get over there to Amazon Music and drop us a review. Why don't you?
Nice. Excellent.
Otherwise, we're just going to be reading the same one all month long.
Well, Michael will do it too. I've seen him do it.
Yep. All right. Well, let's get to it. Our guest this week is an actor and host of the podcast High Strangeness. Club Scouts of all timelines, please welcome Steve Berg to the program. Hi, Steve.
Hi, friends. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Good.
Very happy to be here.
And you know what?
Happy to
We
have
are
you.
friends because, Steve, whether you like it or not, after tonight, you will be my friend because I've been listening to High Strangeness and I've developed a parasocial relationship with you. And now we're buddies. You're going to have to accept
like it or not.
Oh, accepted, gladly. I have been listening to y'all's show for a long time. So, I mean, it is weird when you listen to other people's podcasts and then you meet them. You're like, but I already know you. I guess I don't. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I've taken you guys on many walks and, working in my garden. So,
that's
I
amazing.
thank you.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
I love that we've been in your garden. Now,
Yes.
you are in the Midwest, correct?
I am. I lived in LA for 20 years. And during the pandemic, I kind of freaked out because my parents were here by themselves. And, they're older. They're like 80. So I was like, dude, I should just buy a house in Omaha because they're basically free and move back here. And so I just kind of go back and forth between Omaha and LA. It's great.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you're in good Big Sky country. I grew up in Kansas, just south of you by a few hours.
Where in Kansas?
Olathe, Kansas. So just in the suburbs of near Overland Park outside of Kansas City.
I have many friends that went there. I went to the University of Kansas. I'm a Jayhawk.
Oh my God. I knew we were going to like each other. Bryce, you can just sign out if you want to. Come back for High Strangeness.
I'm close too. I got some family out there in Sioux City, which is really close to Omaha. When I go back there, you fly into Omaha.
Sure, that's really close.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know, there's a great UFO case from the 1800s from Sioux City.
Oh, well, let's hear it. Would you remember off the top of your head?
Do you know it's now I can't remember the guy's name, but anyways, it was a farmer. He was out in his field and he sees this like kind of like flying airship above him, and they shoot the airship shoots down a like rope with a hook.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Hooks, you know that one? He hooks him by the trousers.
And
Yes.
didn't it get stuck in a
it.
church or something like that? They say like part of like the I think a part of at the end of the rope there might have been like an anchor or something, and didn't it get like lodged into such a crazy story?
Buddy, it is, and I'm trying to locate that damn anchor. And if I find it, I'll fly you guys out for an expedition.
That's wild.
I got to tell everyone listening. So Steve's he's the real deal. You are clearly, having listened to now 5-6 episodes of the show, I'm getting caught up. You are clearly well versed in High Strangeness. I know from your show that you've been into this for a very long time. So let's get in right to it. Let's jump right in. Yeah. Steve, what is your personal paranormal history? How did you get into this stuff? And have you ever had an experience that you can't explain?
Okay. Well, gosh, great questions. So I kind of got into it like really young. My mom was a school teacher, so she took me to get a library card. And I came back with like a Billy Meyer picture book of like hoaxed UFO photos. But the Billy Meyer stuff, it's really beautiful, you know? It's like these sunsets and the Swiss. They're gorgeous looking.
Tell everyone, we've not done an episode yet on Billy Meyer. I can't believe it. It's been 6 years and we still haven't. But let everyone at home know about Billy Meyer.
Well, he was this, contactee, allegedly. I think that like he started putting out photos and stories in the late 60s, but he had these magnificent photos of these like, metal hunks of metal flying saucer, classic like 50s style, the flying saucers that we all love. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. We call them classic saucers or CS.
A real CS.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm old school. Give me a saucer. I'm a saucer guy. But he was having all these experiences and like, full on contactee experiences. I remember there was a book that he had where he shows you see half of the UFO occupant in like a horrible, cheesy costume holding like a ray gun. I mean, So, obviously I think people caught on pretty quick that this guy was taking people for a ride. You know what I'm saying? But I still had this affinity, like, because sometimes I look at hoaxers as like performance art. And I can kind of admire them. So long story short, I checked out that book. Anyway, and then it was just kind of from there on out through my childhood, I was... and probably like a lot of you guys, like reading every ghost book you found in your grade school or Bigfoot book or UFO book. And it just never stopped. I just kept on going and going. And by the time I was like in middle school, I was going to UFO conferences by myself. And
oh man, I love it.
I was like really like,
that's a sure
hardcore
sign
about it. Like at the time, yeah, I was, total weirdo, man. But I led like a secret life. I was like a jock. So playing football, like, yeah, guys, right on. Let's go to the buffet, blah, 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 drink beer. And then I would sneak off to a UFO conference on Saturday morning, like in shame, like
how old
was my secret.
How old were you when you joined MUFON?
Well, I tried to when I was like in high school, but then they gave me a bunch of flack. They're like, why do you want to join MUFON? I was like, well, I just want to be an investigator, dog. Hook me up with some kind of like Geiger counter and send me off. I'm Recti,
Right.
And,
like, why do you care, MUFON? Like, don't you need members? Like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I was kind of like, suck it, dude. So like, they kind of gave me some flack, I think, about being a teenager or whatever. And I was like, I'm out later. I don't need you guys. But, then like college comes around and you start, worrying about girls and partying and going to like Guided by Voices concerts. And so you forget about UFOs.
Down at the Bottleneck.
Dude, yes. I literally saw Guided by Voices at the Bottleneck.
Of course you did.
Oh, man, that's great. It makes me so happy.
It's the best.
Yes, the best. It totally is. But then I moved to LA, and when I came to LA, I got really excited because in California they have everything. There's so many conferences. We'd go to this church in Studio City for these like monthly UPARS meetings where they'd have like, Nick Redfern and like, Ron Moorhead come and speak. And I was like, there would be like 40. Yeah, it was at a Methodist church, like off Moore Park.
I wasn't on this email list. Otherwise, I would have been there.
Right. But I would go all the time, man. I would, truth be told, I was just like getting baked in my car and just like rolling in there, stinking like a skunk and loving life.
Yeah.
It's great.
How was Nick Redfern? Like, we have not had him on the show. I'd love to get him on the show, but there's a little fear with some of these people where you're like, I'm a little afraid of me. I don't want them to destroy the illusion.
I know. He was so nice. Like, great. Really nice. I even got like a picture with him because like those people, even though like, you work in LA and like, the film and TV business and stuff, and you are like, even if you live in LA, you're around a lot of celebrities, no matter what. But after a while, that sort of wears off. But like paranormal, ufological, like, I guess personalities like really get me starstruck. So like around Nick Redfern, I was like, oh God. I was like, a little Beatles girl, like it was amazing.
The most excited I ever was when I saw Grant Morrison talk at Meltdown back when Meltdown still existed. And I was like the most starstruck I've ever been in my entire life.
Grant Morrison's awesome, dude. I would be too.
Yeah, they're the best. They're the coolest. So have you had any experience that you can't explain, or have you been on the search of one of those?
No, sadly I have not. And I have been one of those, I was one of those kids, one of those adults. Even now, I'm always trying to put myself in a position to find I've been researching a lot of like, weirdly, there's a lot of kind of Bigfoot action in eastern Nebraska. And,
really?
Yeah. And like going back like a long ways in like newspapers, I found like cases from, the late, or late 1800s, which is like wild. But I will go out to these places just to try to feel the vibe of what was happening. And so I'm always kind of like putting myself in positions I feel to go to hot spots and try to experience stuff. And I'm not maybe that sincere about it. I'm not like taking Geiger counters or doing rituals or anything, but
but yeah, you're putting yourself out
places, there. Trying to, man, like as much as I possibly can, because it would be really cool to experience something. Yet I don't need to still be interested in this stuff.
When you go out to these destinations to check them out, like what you're not bringing equipment, it sounds like, but what are you doing once you get out there?
Usually I'm first off, I plan a very great lunch. So that's very important. Maybe some like couscous and some like
little picnic.
So it's a picnic. Yeah, right.
It's a picnic, man. Like some LaCroix out there, maybe a little potato salad, a nice,
Pretty soon they're going to be sandwich. Like, have you seen the Picnic Man of East Omaha?
I know, dude.
Every now and then you'll catch him out there.
And he calls out, he's like, I'm ready for company. Like,
Yeah. I've got lunch for two.
I've got lunch for two over here.
Yeah, but what do I do? Honestly, what I do is I take like my GoPro out there and I kind of summarize like what happened or the account. And I my big plan was to take a bunch of these videos and then like edit them and release them, but like I can't edit very well.
Fair enough.
So I'm actually having someone do it for me because I've taken so much footage, especially because like, it's been like a weird 3 years with the pandemic and then these like back-to-back strikes. Like it's been, work has been funky, man. So,
yeah.
For a lot of our listeners who might not have heard your podcast, I only heard it for the first time today. And you had the guest Joshua Cutchin on, who wrote Where the Footprint Ends, and we talk about him a lot. But oh my gosh, listening to you guys,
had him on the show.
Yeah, listening to you guys talk back and forth and parlay these high strangeness theories, and you guys were both so on top of it and poignant and in depth into all this stuff. So when you're going out to these places, you're probably looking at it from a fresh perspective, as well as just sort of telling the facts of what happened, but coming at it from this angle of like, I heard you guys are so open to all these ideas that somehow this phenomenon connects, especially back to old fairy lore, and it could be happening today. And
yes.
Can you talk a little bit about sort of, that the perspective you bring to these places you visit?
Yeah, well, thanks for noticing that because that you kind of nailed how I feel or what excites me about these 40 topics because I do see so many patterns and motifs that have repeated itself throughout history, and then just even within the phenomenon, like of paranormal and cryptozoology and ufology. I mean, if you take like lights, for example, like orbs of light are seen in conjunction with all weird stuff.
Right.
If it's inside of a house, well, it's a ghost. If it's in the air, it's a UFO. If you see an orange orb, when people have a Bigfoot sighting,
right, it's
then
astral
it's like
Bigfoot.
a weird,
It's
symptom of Bigfoot.
It's a
Right,
plasma
right.
tummy ball.
Yeah. So I mean, like I think there's so many of these things that are like, even like with UFOs and Bigfoot, I think Josh and I probably talked about this, but like, Bigfoot is always seen crossing the road or like, like almost getting hit by a car. There's always these like apparitions by the road. There's so many cases, especially in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s in UFOs, they're in the middle of roads.
Yeah.
So there's these kind of ancient motifs of like, means of travel. Like I feel like the idea of liminality kind of being between spaces and like, a lot of this stuff is the stuff that really turns me on. So when I go out to a place where Bigfoot was supposedly seen, I'm always looking for, is it by a tributary? Not just because of deer, water, and wildlife stuff, but more how does it relate to the greater phenomenon? Because I do feel like UFOs, like where Bigfoot is mostly seen in eastern Nebraska, it just so happens that is where the most of the other weird stuff is. UFO cases, structured crafts, lights over the Missouri River, wild black panthers being seen in the late 1800s.
What?
I mean, like flying winged humanoids, all kinds
God.
of really wild stuff.
Steve, I feel a little embarrassed being, a sort of from that area. Can you tell us like sort of this, what the location topographically it looks like for sure. Bigfoot in what part of Nebraska? You said eastern? Are these like forested areas?
They are. So like from
Yeah.
the tippy top of Nebraska on the eastern side, all the way down to the south runs the Missouri River, which is one of the bigger rivers in America. And actually, Nebraska has, I think, aside from Alaska, I think next to Texas, the most miles of rivers going through it.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
So, so in all over these rivers, people like the Republican River, people talk about Bigfoot. The Platte River, people talk about Bigfoot. But a lot of the cases I'm looking at are from the Missouri River on eastern Nebraska.
Gotcha.
And like you said, it is pretty forested. Now in Nebraska, it is definitely like cornfields and farmland for a great swath of it. But it does have some diversity on its coastal lines and stuff like that. So, even today, there's, on the Omaha Indian Reservation and the Winnebago Reservation, which is kind of like in the northern part of the eastern Nebraska, they supposedly have interactions with Bigfoot all the time.
Wow.
Like, I think Jeffrey Meldrum went out there and some other people have been out there, but like they supposedly have, and not only Bigfoot, but a lot of weird stuff.
Right, right. I love those Bigfoot habituation cases where always the people are like, "Oh, I see him every day. Oh, he's always out in my backyard every day." And then a researcher will come and like, "I don't know. He was here yesterday. I think you might have scared him off." And then the person's like, "Damn, oh."
Well, I mean, you've talked to a lot of witnesses, I'm guessing, right, Bryce? I mean, quite a few at this point.
Yeah, they're starting to pile up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you ever hear some of these weirder aspects, like that are associated sometimes with Bigfoot?
On occasion, people will talk about like how track ends or, sort of that quietness that sort of takes over a space before an encounter happens. There are these sort of strange clues and motifs, as you would say, that do sort of show up in these Bigfoot encounters with a lot of these witnesses. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Ooh, it's so interesting. Cool.
What are some of these favorite places that you've found? Is there a spot that you've gone back to more than once because you feel like something's going on here?
I
do. Well, I'm actually, I had. It's funny. I feel funny saying this because I'm such
don't do it. This is when we get good stuff.
I'm really just a professional clown, but I kind of like sought out this guy who is a bow hunter in eastern Nebraska. And he had been he's like, third generation bow hunter. And he had a very dramatic like encounter with like a, very dark colored Bigfoot creature. And it like really messed him up, and he stopped bow hunting for a while. And then I finally got a hold of him, and he got back to me, and I said, hey, I would love to talk to you more about the story, or maybe like, go out there with you or whatever. And he was like, totally cool, man. And then he like called me back the next day. He's like, you're trying to trick me. You're a comedian. He like looked me up on Google. Saw I was like in drunk history and shit. So he was like, thought I was like trying to like punk him or something. So then I had to convince him I was like legit. Anyways, he takes me out there. And this guy, first off, is not trying to get famous. He's not like posting on Facebook or anything. But he took me out to the place where he has had he's been whooped at, he said, after he saw this creature, been bluff charged, he said. But he took me out to this area, and there were like, I feel weird saying it, these pretty dramatic stick structures.
Okay.
Like giant logs. I mean, like so much so to where he would have had to do so much work and have buddies help him with like ropes and pulleys to just do this for me alone. Right. So, what do you do with all this stuff? I kind of feel like I believe that he believes what he's telling me. For sure. I don't think he had 2 guns on him when I'm not like a big gun guy. I was like, oh God, what's happening? What am I doing? This guy's a stranger. I'm in a cornfield.
And it doesn't sound like he likes comedians.
No, he does. I was really questioning my life decisions at that point, but it was interesting. And I follow up with him probably every 3 months. And I'm like, hey man, anything when you've been out hunting? He's like, yeah, I got bluff charged, dude. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Wow.
I feel like these tree structures don't necessarily always translate to the screen. I love Expedition Bigfoot, and I always love it when you guys come across those on the show, Bryce.
Me too.
But for two, I'm talking to 2 guys that have seen these before. What makes them so impressive, Steve? What about the ones in Nebraska?
I'll tell you what. It was just looking at, I quickly realized this was something that if I wanted to, and granted, I'm not an engineer, I don't have a lot of like technical ingenuity, but I'm a pretty big dude. I'm like 6'4", 260. Like, and while I'm not like a bodybuilder, like I look at these structures, I'm like, there's no way I could do this by myself. And then I think to myself, like, if I had a strong buddy with me, could we do it? I'm like, maybe. But I kind of doubt it, like, and also the time it would have taken to do this. Because a lot of these pictures, there would be like 100 sticks made that looked like almost like a little like lean-to. Granted, and I actually talked to the farmer who owns this land. He owns thousands of acres, right? And he said, one, he's never seen a Bigfoot on his property. But he's also said, that area where you guys were, I've never been there. I own 1,000 acres. There's a lot of parts of my property I never see or have never seen. Like, you can't walk all that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But another thing he did say is like, well, I never saw Bigfoot, but I have seen the purple lights. And I'm like, what do you mean purple lights, my man? And he goes, well, my grandfather owned this land, and my dad did. Now I have it, and they all told me about the purple lights, and I see them too. I'm like, well, what do you?
Oh, interesting.
So I thought that was interesting.
Purple lights in the sky from the woods. Where are they? He said
they would. Well, he actually just kind of pointed when he said they kind of floated over like a hill. There was like a hill part where we were staying. It's like they would just kind of float behind the hill and float over the hill and then go away.
It seems like such a local phenomenon, right? Like the purple lights of that certain area, yeah, you're right. So wild.
It is wild. And like that, and that's the thing, like that part of Missouri River, which is, if you go like 15 miles east, that's right where the Missouri River is. And that's kind of the area where people have been seeing lights, seeing wild men, and, all kinds of crazy, weird stuff.
I love this, Steve, because you're kind of becoming a budding Tenney in Nebraska, how John Tenney's always looking at Michigan folklore and Michigan stuff going on there. Yeah. Like, have you found any history of purple lights in that area?
Only other people. So there's this researcher. He's kind of quasi-famous in the UFO world, I would say. His name is Ray Boucher. And Nick Redfern wrote a book called Final Events. And Ray is kind of the protagonist of that. But also the whole, I don't know if you ever heard of the Bentwaters case in England, the UFO case where the military saw this craft land. Who knows if it's real or not? Anyways, he kind of broke that story. long story short,
Bentwater case.
Ray has been probably the biggest, like collector of Nebraska high strangeness stories going back to like the 60s. And so he lived in that area. And so he's been kind of like in a weird way, like a guy who hit me to a lot of the stuff I wasn't finding on the internet. He's like, look here. And they would send me all these old newspaper clippings. Like, oh, wow.
Love that.
That's crazy. I did not get that on Google. So it's one of those things too, where kind of like I've realized how limiting the internet is in terms of doing research.
Yeah. He gives you like an old floppy disk that you can't use. He's like, here you go, kid. What am I going to do with this?
Well, that's
Totally.
also like, think about microfiche is one thing, but like think about all the data that's stored on like VHS tapes or floppy disks,
Yep.
Bryce. I mean, you joke, like think of it as there could be evidence out there,
So much
archivally
lost.
speaking, that
Oh my
we
God.
can't
So much.
access anymore because we have no way to get to it.
Yeah, and no one cares to upload the stuff. So I feel like people think like if you have a subscription to newspapers.com, which I do, which is a great resource to look into stuff, it's just they don't have everything. You know what I'm saying? And like the best resources I've found, at least in Nebraska and Iowa, where I kind of peek around too, is calling historical societies of small towns and librarians.
Yeah.
I have so many librarians like working with me, and every once in a while they'll email like, "Oh, I found this, crop circle case from 1987," and I'm like, "Whoa, nice!"
Yeah.
I love this so
That's
much.
the way to do it.
How close
It's
are
fun.
you to getting a trench coat and maybe start dressing in like 1960s suits when you go out?
Brother, I'm dangerously close. Like, honestly, if I could do anything in the entire world, it would just be to wake up every morning and like go do boots on the ground research.
I think you're on your way, honestly.
Oh man, it doesn't pay.
No, it doesn't. But you're on your way there.
I know.
You'll
I'm
figure
on
it
my way
out.
to poverty, bro.
So I know we gotta move on here, and this I'm asking a deadly question, but just because I'm curious, because
love it.
you're a man of imagination and you're a man who's passionate about the subject. If you had to give sort of a 2-minute pitch on what you think is the phenomenon, what would it be?
The phenomenon of Bigfoot or everything?
Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, how it's all, like what's happening out there, at least in your mind at this point in time. Maybe today you're like, I don't know. But you know, if you could give your elevator pitch of like what's really going on out there, what do you think it is?
Oh my God, this is gonna get into some dorm room bong hit territory, but
Let's
here
do
we
it.
go. I sort of see this stuff, kind of as co-created by us. And that doesn't necessarily mean I don't believe in like the nuts and bolts possibility of UFOs and Bigfoot. I'm not discounting that at all, but I think there is something that requires our co-creation with a lot of this stuff. And I think maybe it may not even be like another intelligence, how we think of like, non-human intelligence, but it may be a piece of technology that is running in concert with the earth, and it just projects different things where we are evolutionary. If it's the 1600s in Ireland, well, it's going to be fairies. And if it's in the Ho Chi Minh Dynasty era, well, it's going to be flying shields in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's in the 20th century, in the 1940s, when we're thinking about going to space, it's going to be aliens from another planet. And now it's interesting because a lot of this stuff it's kind of all over the place. Well, they're interdimensional, but what does that even mean? We don't even know if there's other dimensions. That's a theory. So the thing is, like, I think it's the greatest mystery in the world. And I think part of the phenomenon is teaching us and showing us stuff from maybe mythology and folklore. Yet I think there's a real reality to it. The way I'm describing it is terrible because it sounds like
this
it's not.
I mean, this
No.
echoes a lot of stuff that we've also talked about here too. So no.
I'm getting in some Carl Jungian type of kind of areas, but
You're in
that
the sweet
is kind of
spot,
how
man.
I feel about it.
No,
I feel
yeah.
like it's sort of I think it's kind of an amalgamation of our collective unconscious that is physical and non-physical at the same time.
Yeah,
It makes no sense.
I think, you said on a recent episode that it may have been the one with Kutchin about, this seems to be an instrument to keep us thinking and evolving and imagining what the possibilities are out there and keep questioning reality. And that's something that we've definitely talked about on the show.
Well, I also loved how you said the paranormal, just, being involved in the paranormal and looking into this stuff has a way of enchanting your life and infusing magic into one's life. And I just love that idea, because life can feel so dull, but when you accept the mystery that some of these things are offering to us, it does add this enchantment to your life. It can feel magical at moments when it can otherwise not, I love that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you, man. And I do feel strongly that way, because I recently heard a friend of mine named Ren Collier recently was just saying in a piece he wrote that the future is whack, man. The world is so crazy that if you don't program your own life, someone's going to program one for you. And that kind of scared me when I read it. And I want to live like a pretty positive life and be like good to my friends and family. But I also want to chase mystery, because chasing mystery is how you end up becoming a better reader, a better researcher, a better person. You kind of get out of your comfort zone. Like, even though I live in Omaha, Nebraska, it's still like a city. There's like 1 million people here. But if I didn't like this stuff, I wouldn't go out to like rural small towns. And when you go out to rural small towns, like, being a city boy my whole life, you really see another side of human beings, and even though we have a lot of, I don't know, I'm sounding really hippy dippy here, but
No.
I do think enchanting your life is a way to have an adventurous life and to chase mystery. And I think what could be a more positive thing to do?
I think that's beautiful. That's a great moment to take a quick pause, and we'll be right back with more Steve Berg.
Word up.
And more enchantment.
Yes.
Let's talk about cold turkey. Oh boy. It may be great on sandwiches, but there's a better way to break your bad habits. We're not talking about going to see Uri Geller and get your mind bent like some cheap spoon. No, we're talking about our sponsor Fume, and they look at the problem in a different way. Not everything in a bad habit is wrong, okay? Can we finally admit that? So instead of drastic, uncomfortable changes, why not just remove the bad part from your bad habit? Fume is an innovative, award-winning flavored air device that does just that. Instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. Instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. And instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses delicious flavors. You get it. You get it. Instead of bad, Fume is good. It's a habit you're free to enjoy and makes replacing your bad habit easy. Your Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting, giving your fingers a lot to do, which is helpful for de-stressing and anxiety while breaking your habit. I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. Your boy Michael, he used to be a bad boy. He had some bad habits. And boy, oh boy, I wish that Fume had been around during my bad habit era. The taste is delicious. It's more flavorful than you might think. It's very fresh. It reminds me of a nice chamomile tea. The feel of the device it's well weighted. It's perfectly balanced. It's very fun to fidget with. If you got a finger fixation or an oral fixation, the Fume flavored air device is the way to go. You feel cool using it. Stopping is something we all put off because it's hard, but switching to Fume is easy, enjoyable, and even fun. Fume has served over 150,000 customers and has thousands of success stories, and there's no reason that cannot be you. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com and use code BCC to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfum.com and use code BCC to save an additional 10% off your order today. Okay, Steve, you're not getting out of here without playing a game that we play with all of our guests. I'm going to go down a list of phenomena.
Cool.
And if you're open to it, you're going to say believe it. If you're not open to it, you're going to say bullshit. You got to pick one way or another.
Love it.
You don't have to commit to it for life.
Now, when you say believe it, that's like I think it's complete 100% fact, or like I'm open to the idea.
You're open to it. It's sort of like,
Gotcha.
for lack of a better term, I got to find something to replace this. But like if someone's holding a gun to your head and you got to like decide now.
Okay. Oh, I
you
like
know what
that.
I mean?
Yeah. No. Thank you for putting that in the motivation.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know, you're an actor. You need a little motivation. We get
Always.
it.
I know what you told to do.
All right. You're in a
Tell me how
warehouse.
to feel. Tell me how to feel.
You're in a warehouse. They've yanked the black hood off of your head.
Oh God, no!
They've surrounded you, and now they're and now they want to know what you think.
Okay, I love this.
All right, here we go. This is a game we call Bullshit
or Believe It.
Steve Berg, on your mark, get set. Ghosts,
Believe it.
Bigfoot,
Believe it.
UFOs,
Believe it.
vampires,
Don't believe bullshit.
werewolves.
Bullshit. Is that the same thing as Dogman?
No,
Are we counting them as one?
or
No? Okay. I'm going to say, well, I think you're right. I think they are different. So I'm going to say bullshit to
Okay,
werewolves.
hold on. Quick, keep stalling. I pulled up the wrong list, and I don't know why I did this. Hold on.
no, that's
ruined-
okay. I would
This is
say
the first time I've ruined my own game.
No, that's okay. We'll fill this space.
I was doing the zombie Bigfoot list.
The difference between, I think, a werewolf and Dogman is that werewolf starts as a man and turns into a werewolf as the full moon at night. And a Dogman,
Yes.
we don't even know if they ever were human, even though sometimes they are reported seeing wearing some type of like clothes or pelt or whatever they're wearing. We don't know if they were ever, the lore is they were never human. We just know them to be these dog-like canine cryptids.
You nailed it. That's exactly what the difference is. And you're right. I mean, they are different deals.
All right, I'm back in.
One was a man.
Bat Squatch.
I don't know enough. I'll say bullshit.
Hairy alien UFO knots.
Believe it.
The Beast of Galvadon.
Believe it.
Goatman.
Believe it.
Momo.
Believe it.
The Yowie.
Believe it.
The Jersey Devil.
Fuck. Believe it.
Mystery Big Cats.
Believe it.
Sasquatch.
Believe it.
Bigfoot bodies were recovered after the eruption of Mount St. Helens.
Ooh, I want to believe it, but I think bullshit.
Bigfoot creatures have penetrated the subterranean infrastructure of Edwards Air Force Base.
Bullshit.
You could outsmart a werewolf.
Bullshit.
Interdimensional Sasquatch.
Believe it.
Telepathic Sasquatch.
Believe it.
Invisible Sasquatch.
Believe it.
Bigfoot looks blurry in every photo because he is blurry.
Bullshit.
Finally, in our original timeline, the famous Bears family last name was spelled Berenstain, not Berenstein.
A bullshit, man. It was
Great.
Berenstein. It was Berenstein.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Well done.
That one is weird, though, right? I mean, where are you guys on the Berenstein?
I'm a Berenstain since day one because I have a specific memory questioning this, being like, as I was learning to read and I looked at the title of the book and I asked my mom, I was like, wait, why are they called the Berenstein Bears, but it's spelled this way? And she's like, that's just how they spell their name.
Okay. Right. Okay. That's interesting. I bet, I mean, like, that's probably what it is. We all called it that, but it was spelled.
Yeah. And we couldn't read at the time. We were too young, most of us.
Totally. Did you completely just destroyed the Mandela effect for me?
Unless I was in that timeline to begin with, and I'm from the alternate timeline.
Oh man. That's likely.
Yeah, you think those bodies in Mount St. Helens probably didn't happen, right?
I would love that to be true, but it's just other side from a story. I just don't know how. I mean, it's a great story.
Seems like one of those early 90s internet,
message board forums. I mean, I remember hearing about it and go, dude, really? This is good.
That's some like 90s, early 90s coast to coast fodder for me, I think.
Yeah. That's exactly where it probably came from, dude.
Yeah, that is back again. That's when that's an example of when conspiracy theories were fun.
Yes, you're totally right.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's time for this week's story of high strangeness. I'm going to pass the proverbial baton over to your other host, Bryce Johnson. Bryce, what do you got for us tonight?
Great. Love it. Can't wait. Well, it's happening for UFOs, but can it happen for Bigfoot and his buddies? I'm talking, of course, about Bigfoot Disclosure. Yeah, sure, everyone knows about UFO disclosure, which they call just, well, regular old disclosure, which we're seeing play out before our very eyes, sort of? But what about the idea that the government knows more than they're letting on about our gigantic...
We walked right into this one.
Yes, you did. Upright, walking, furry friends of the forest, Bigfoot, prompting us as a society to rally the cry, "Show us them big feet!" Come on, Mike, give me a rally cry. Steve, you too.
Come on!
Come on! Show us! I want to see some big feet!
We are Americans and we deserve the truth. I pay taxes and I want to know what is going on with all those big feet. There's children walking in that forest.
I've been bluff charged 6 times on my property and I've seen purple lights.
Well, there you go. Well, before the bombshell New York Times article, Glowing Auras and Black Money, the Pentagon's mysterious UFO program, broke in December of 2017, UFOs were still pretty much fringe. I mean, if I told you back then that all the major news media outlets and even our own government would be taking the UFO topic very seriously, you probably would have laughed in my face. But it happened. It's happening. But could that hold true for Bigfoot as well? Perhaps one day on the front page of the New York Times, they'll read a headline that says, "Walking Giants in Black Money, the Pentagon's mysterious Bigfoot program." So let's examine what it would take for Bigfoot to go mainstream like UFOs have recently, so we can finally get us some of that long-awaited, highly anticipated, sweet, sweet Bigfoot disclosure. Let's go! The way I see it, one of the first things Bigfoot would need in order for the people to demand Bigfoot disclosure would be some type of large-scale secret government cover-up. A cover-up that the public is well aware of and highly suspicious about. The UFOs have one, and it's a big one. You guessed it, the Roswell incident, where in July of '47, a flying saucer from outer space crashed somewhere in the New Mexican desert, where it was discovered by a rancher and covertly retrieved by the local Army Air Force and taken back to the nearby base. The event was reported to the Roswell Daily Record, which splashed a front-page headline that read, "RAAF captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell region." However, that original story was officially retracted by Uncle Sam the next day by explaining to the general public that all those intelligence officers simply made a boo-boo by mistaking the weather balloon for a piloted alien spacecraft. Whoopsies! And with that, a cover-up conspiracy legend was born. What does Bigfoot have? Nothing as good as that. I'll tell you that much. You guys already touched on it. The closest Bigfoot has...
I had no clue we were going here tonight. I had no idea.
You stepped right into it. The closest Bigfoot has to a government cover-up conspiracy that I can think of is the one about Bigfoot bodies removed after Mount St. Helens eruption in 1980. That's right. The theory goes that after the sudden eruption of Mount St. Helens, one of North America's largest dormant volcanoes, on May 18, 1980, the state of Washington declared a state of emergency and mobilized government and civilian agencies to coordinate efforts in order to respond to the eruption's immediate and long-term impacts. And while at least the human population had an early warning, resulting in only 57 losses of life, the wildlife in the area suffered devastation and loss, as well as the over 250 square miles that were obliterated by the volcanic blast and subsequent lava field. Well, while during the cleanup, multiple reports came in from civilians as well as government individuals who claimed to have come across what can only be described as dead Bigfoot bodies, which were subsequently reported to the government authorities and resulted in an immediate covert body recovery and cover-up operation. 70s helicopter flying away from a spewing volcano with a half-dead Bigfoot hanging inside a cargo net? Yes, please. But unlike the crash at Roswell, the evidence was marginal at best, and it certainly didn't capture America's attention like Roswell did. So what else would Bigfoot need to get some street cred? How about a secret government program? That's right, for Bigfoot to get some serious credibility in the streets, we would have to uncover some type of good evidence for the existence of a secret government program looking into the validity of the Bigfoot phenomenon. In the New York Times article, we learned that $22 million over 5 years would be allocated to study and investigate the UFO-UAP phenomenon at a place called Skinwalker Ranch, somewhere in the northeastern desert of Utah. Late Senators Ted Stevens, a Republican from Alaska, and Daniel Inouye, a Democrat from Hawaii, along with Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid from Nevada, approved a secretive UFO study program called ATIP, or the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, which was tasked with learning as much as possible about the potential threats that UFOs pose to our national security. And so ATIP was born. But Bigfoot doesn't have any kind of secretive government study program like that, at least that we know of, although rumors are abound. I, even myself, have explored some tempting leads on my show Expedition Bigfoot, where I spoke with individuals who told me firsthand that there are U.S. intelligence agencies who know about the existence of these creatures and are doing everything in their power to capture and study one in order to exploit it for defense purposes. But we don't have any concrete proof of that, nothing even close. Not like we do with the ATIP program, which we know existed, thanks to the hard work of good investigative journalism. The closest we ever came to finding out that the US government had taken an interest in Bigfoot was when in the 1970s the FBI examined some hair samples that were believed to be from an unknown primate, possibly Bigfoot. The hair samples were submitted for analysis by various individuals and organizations interested in cryptozoology. The results of the FBI analysis conducted by the FBI's Hair and Fiber Unit concluded that the hair samples were from known animals such as bears and other common wildlife, rather than from an unknown primate. So, no help there. And come to think of it, you know what else would be a really smart PR move for Bigfoot? Some Bigfoot congressional hearings could really turn the heat up. In July of this year, some truly unbelievable things were said at a congressional hearing on UFOs when retired Major David Grush, who went from being part of the Pentagon's UAP task force to becoming a whistleblower, told the House Oversight Committee's National Security Subcommittee that he had been denied access to some government UFO programs, but that he knows the, quote, exact locations of UAPs in U.S. possession. He also said that the U.S. recovered non-human, quote-unquote, biologics from the crash site. Non-human biologics from a crash site? Now that's something that grabbed not only headlines across the nation, but everyone's attention as well. I mean, Bigfoot hasn't grabbed a headline like that in a long time, let alone had the House Oversight Committee's National Security Subcommittee's attention. Well played, UFOs. Well played. And finally, for your gym crush not to giggle when you bring up your belief in Bigfoot because the government is finally taking it seriously, Bigfoot would need to have... what? Any guesses, gentlemen?
Steve?
A body?
Well, that would be a great start.
That would be good.
A lawyer. But you know what he would need first is a task force. That's right, perhaps more than any other gesture to the American public to say that yes, we take UFOs seriously was for the Department of Defense to establish a UAP task force, the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, a U.S. government effort dedicated to investigating reports of unidentified aerial phenomena, or simply UFOs. The task force was established to better understand and assess the reports which involve sightings of objects in the sky that exhibit flight characteristics or behaviors that cannot be readily explained. And even though the UAP Task Force's work is primarily focused on assessing potential national security implications of these sightings, and not really specifically focused on the broader question of the origin of extraterrestrial life associated with these crafts, still, it's a damn good start. Unfortunately for Bigfoot, it looks like He's going to have to wait for his cool shoulder patch from the Department of Interior because there's no officially sanctioned government body or group officially looking into Bigfoot that we know of. So why has it been different for UFOs than it has for Bigfoot? Both have purportedly been around for centuries, if not thousands of years. Both have been reported not only here in America, but all over the world. Both are reported in the hundreds, if not thousands, on a yearly basis, and both are seen and experienced by credible individuals as well as trained observers in the military and law enforcement. And both have left behind puzzling and confounding evidence. The similarities are more common than you might think. So what gives? Well, here's what I think. I think the main reason that UFOs are experiencing a renaissance, so to speak, whereas Bigfoot is still considered by most to be purely fictional or mythological, is because we are in the technological age. We are moved by information at a paralyzing speed. We as a species are itching to leave Earth's placenta, and it's the UFO that represents our departure, or birth, to keep the metaphor going. Bigfoot represents our past, a return to nature. And although there are a large number of people and groups who rebuke metropolitan life and technological advances, and who are in fact living in a symbiotic relationship with nature, they're the minority, to be sure. The vast majority of our civilization sees nature as something to be conquered, overcome, a place to gain and acquire vast resources. But I think where they both get it wrong is that in order to fulfill mankind's destiny amongst the stars and to explore other galaxies and spread our galactic seed, so to speak, we're going to need both technologies. The technology of the future that the UFO seems to hold, and its ability to conquer time and space, which appear to be mere hindrances for these craft that can change shape and density and travel back and forth between time and side to side between space. But we also need the technology of the past, which is the ability to move between worlds as well. Not time and space like UFOs, but between the material world and the spirit world like Bigfoot does. To be able to walk between both worlds at ease and commune with nature as well as your ancestors while still living. In other words, to live in a society where the general consensus is that we are spiritual beings living a material existence. And this is what Bigfoot represents. I'm of the opinion that we need to marry the two, as they are both equally important to our ever-evolving species. We, as humans, need to be technologically advanced and spiritually advanced. This is the alchemical dance that's going to be required in order to achieve our metamorphosis, shed our chrysalis, and take our rightful place amongst the stars. At least, that's what I think. So for now, I'll just keep holding my breath till I get some of that sweet, sweet Bigfoot disclosure. What do you guys think? Will Bigfoot ever get the same kind of mainstream respect UFOs are seeing today?
I just first off want to say I thought that was absolutely beautiful, and I think you're onto something. I think you might have just. I think you are sniffing around, man. Like that is gorgeous.
Thank you.
Truly, I mean, like and it was. I was really that moved me, and it made me think. I don't think they will, simply because what it seems like Congress and the whole hubbub with like the UFO disclosure thing is like national security. Now, if there comes a time where Bigfoot is posing a threat on national security, then there's going to be a clamoring for Bigfoot disclosure. But I think just to the spiritual side that you were so eloquently laying down on us, I think, while we live in a very polarized, country, very like split, Bigfoot could be the great uniter, because I feel like people on the right, they love Bigfoot. People on the left, I think they like Bigfoot too. I'm not.
We're still testing
like
the waters.
Bigfoot.
I think they do. Well, here's the thing. I think everyone likes the idea of Bigfoot, right?
Yes.
Like at least it's like, if you don't, then like, I'm sorry, you're boring. But it could be this great thing to where like maybe putting like a real deal effort, like a real effort into trying to locate and study the Bigfoot phenomenon is worthy. I mean, like all jokes aside, I think what would that mean for us? And especially if they find, if they discover a Bigfoot and it is just a flesh and blood kind of missing link animal, well, that's great. That's huge, man. I think that would be like such a positive thing for the world, really.
We have a new gorilla.
I mean, that's neat. That's neat.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It happens more
amazing?
often than people
And if
think.
they-
I think just off the coast of Mexico, they discovered a new species of whale recently. So, it happens more often than people think. These giant species are still being discovered on planet Earth.
Absolutely, man. And if Bigfoot, like, let's say it turns out to be Bigfoot's like a high, strange, weird, non-human entity from the astral plane, well, that probably is a better way to understand the UFO phenomenon than actually like, talking to F-14 pilots who saw some, I'm so skeptical of everything that comes out of the military's mouth in terms of that stuff. Like they have an agenda, but witnesses, they always throw away Joe Buck had like a UFO land in his backyard. I'm almost more interested in Joe Buck's case than someone from the Air Force, to be honest. But I do think, like, let's say they did look into Bigfoot and they noticed some of the weirdness, some of the high strange aspects. That could be a better tell of what the UFO phenomenon is than the way they're studying it now. So, to be honest, I think it's a worthy cause, my man. I think you convinced me.
All right.
Steve, I literally couldn't say it better myself. So I'm just going to hitch my little wagon to yours and say same. Yeah. I mean, you took the words out of my mouth, especially with the I have a feeling if they start digging into the UFO stuff truly deeply enough, they will start studying Bigfoot, but I do think it's a matter of national security. It's an animal that might be running around in the woods versus, things that are in our airspace.
Right.
And, unless there's some sort of secret program that either Russia or China has to genetically design primates to spy on us, they're not really going to pay too much. They're not going to put their resources, into it. I think they're looking at what is flying over and could possibly be observing our weapons capabilities. And that's why the UFO stuff gets so much attention, and maybe more witnesses too. At the end of the day, there might be just more UFO witnesses out there than Bigfoot, because all you got to do is look up to see a UFO.
Right. What I would say, and if I may put on a conspiratorial hat, let's suppose there is something to Bigfoot, right? Let's just not a doubt in the mind, we all know there's something to Bigfoot. Let's just say that, for example. If that is true, I would be pretty certain that the government or military or, national park system has more data than we do.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
So if there's something to Bigfoot, you would think there would be more data actually, in the government. And if there is something to Bigfoot, why would they not be interested in studying that?
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing is even you mentioned John Tenney earlier. Let's say John Tenney told you the most surefire place to experience to a ghost or something paranormal. Well, why would the government not be interested in the paranormal?
100%.
So I sort of think, I think they've been studying this stuff, for as long as there's been a military and as long as there's been a government.
100%.
I mean, I think spiritualism and all this stuff, I think has been taken a lot more seriously than we'll probably ever know.
Well put.
Love it.
Yep.
Maybe.
Find
Who knows?
out. Maybe we'll find out before we die. Steve Berg, it's been a pleasure.
What a pleasure.
Dude, everyone go follow High Strangeness right now. H-I Strangeness, hello Strangeness, hi Strangeness. Steve is a great interviewer. He really gets great conversations going over there. Everyone listening to the show will absolutely love High Strangeness. So just go subscribe to it right now. Anything else you want to plug? We're still in the middle of these strikes. Is there anything else you want to direct our friends to?
We can't talk about anything we do for a living anymore. So, no, you can follow me on Bergmaster 5000 on social media and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I do have a podcast where we talk about really weird things. So go check it out if you like that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And also, I just want to say I love y'all's show so much, and it has been a great honor. I'm super stoked when you guys asked me. So,
thank you, man.
Thank you. Anytime. We'll have you back.
Yeah.
Oh, cool, man.
I'll laminate the old club card.
We need to get you back in here.
You got 2 new listeners for your show right here, right now. So, welcome to the club.
Hell yes. Thank you, fellas. Thanks, you so
Steve.
much.
Well, a big thanks to Steve Berg, and a big thanks to you, the listeners, especially our friends who recently joined us on BCC The Other Side. It's time to thank some Club Scouts who joined our Patreon. It's time to thank our 13 freaky friends.
Welcome.
Lauren Connor.
Thank you, Lauren.
Alicia Brady, Cosmeteer.
Thank you, Alicia.
Miss Bubblegum.
Thank you, Miss Bubblegum.
TJ, Cosmeteer.
Thanks, TJ.
Erica Wilder.
Thank you, Erica.
Jonathan Resendez.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Cosmeteer.
Woo.
Corey J.
Thanks, Corey.
Seth Kroom.
Thank you, Seth.
Elise Hawkins.
Thank you, Elise.
Jathan. Not Nathan. Jathan T.
That's a cool name. Thanks, Jathan.
I do like Jathan. That sounds like a good Star Wars name.
Yeah.
Like Jathan.
And I don't know if
Skywalker.
Elise was Elsie or not. Either way, thank you, Hawkins. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're right. I think it's Elise.
Could be Elsie.
Elise is a name. It's spelled Elys.
Yeah, no, you're probably right.
Jess Teskey.
Thanks, Jess.
Brandon Pike.
Thanks, Brandon.
And our favorite name of the week, Big Cryptid Shoes.
What up, Big Cryptid Shoes? Thank you, guys. Seriously, thank you, guys. We would not be doing this show without you. That's not an understatement or jest. That is the real deal. It's you, those Patreons who support us doing what we love to do, which is entertain you guys with talks of large North American wood apes. So thank you.
That's right. So head over to patreon.com/BigfootCollectorsClub. Unlock total access to 3 bonus episodes every month, merch discounts, the BCC Discord, the entire backlog of episodes. We have over 240 now. Upgrade to the Cosmeteer membership and unlock 3 music tracks from super producer Riley. And let me tell you something. Riley ain't fucking around on these cosmic tracks lately. He dropped a cover at the end of October that was awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Really, we have like
He's
65,
so bluesy.
66 tracks from him. Oh my God. A couple full albums. Guys, we literally are basically giving our Patreon content away as well on top of this. Like, there's so much cool stuff for you to check out. So head over there. As for us, I'm at McMills on Instagram. Holidays are coming up. Check out our merch store over at store.BigfootCollectorsClub.com. And if you want to send a happy holidays to a fellow Club Scout, why don't you hit me up on Cameo, baby?
Yeah, love it. I'm on those socials as well. If you're on Instagram, you can find me there at Mr. Bryce Johnson. Twitter, or X as they call it now, I'm there as well at Bryce O. Johnson. I hope you're watching Expedition Bigfoot on your streamer, whether it's Discovery Plus or Max. All new season 4, Alaska. It's popping. Hope you're watching it. Thanks for the support. Appreciate you. Cameo me as well. Links in those link tree that Michael created on that Instagram page.
Check
They're
the
beautiful.
links in our bios, baby. We're crossing over to the other side right now, and if we don't see you over there, we'll see you back here next Wednesday for a very special Patreon unlock episode that's never been heard on the main feed. We're taking the week off for the holiday break. But until then, good night.
And go get regressed. Great.
All right.
What a great guest.
Bigfoot Collectors Club is executive produced by Michael McMillan, Riley Bray, and Bryce Johnson. Our show is engineered, produced, and scored by Riley Bray. Our theme song, Come Alone, is by Suneaters. Follow them on Spotify. Want more BCC? For exclusive full-length episodes every month and total access to The Other Side, check out patreon.com/BigfootCollectorsClub.